Hello everybody and welcome to another really interesting video, a case file video. Welcome to the Paranormal Inspectres who are joining us on this wonderful story today. We're talking about, as if you didn't know already, the story of Pluckley village, and being reputed to be the or one of the most haunted villages in all of England. And we're going to deep dive into it today. And who better to join in terms of obviously Sue's wonderful research and knowledge, and the rest of the team that also are joining us today. So if you have been living under a rock for a significant period of time and don't know how well known this site is, we're going to deep dive into that. We're going to talk about the history of it first, just for any people who aren't aware, and then we're going to sort of potentially debunk a few myths, but also look into some of the probably more genuine cases as well. So where should we start then?
Start with the history.
Let's go with the history of it first, so that everybody can be a bit more aware of Pluckley.
Well, Pluckley has the big house, which is Surrenden House. Surrenden House was the home of the Baron Dering, and it had been for very many generations that go back as far as a lieutenant of the Dover Castle, where that particular person found a copy of the Magna Carta and the rolls, the heraldic rolls, where he thought, actually mine's not on here, so he changed one of them in order to get the baronetcy, and that's how he became the Baron of Dering, and it was passed down through the family. There's lots of unfortunate things that happen to various barons. We got to somebody called Chumley. It's pronounced Chumley, but it's spelt very differently, where he had married, and his mother died in the same year that he married, and then his wife had a child and died and left him with a son. And when the son was 4 years old, Chumley was in Hampton Court and had a bit of an argument in a pub with one of his friends, or maybe just an acquaintance, and the friend decided to call him with a brace of pistols to have a duel, and currently just eventually shot him and he died. So Surrenden House was left to this 4-year-old. That was then shipped off to live with a cousin, and the house was closed down, which had an immense amount of effect and ramifications on the whole of the village who were supporting that house. So there we are, we've got the house closed down. Then we're looking at the First World War coming along, and that's an interesting time because it became a remount service where the Ministry of Defence would bring soldiers in, and they would breed horses for the First World War. The train station came, and they would put the horses on the train, send them down to Dover and send them across the channel to fight in the war. There was a brick factory, so people were being able to start work there, and that previous to that they were weavers. What else was there? There was
the cloth that came
across. The cloth that came over from Flanders, that was dealt with the fuller's earth. And let me look at my notes again.
So just whilst he's looking at those, to put everything in context, Pluckley started as a small hamlet that then moved on to becoming a standard village.
Yeah.
That is located just between Canterbury-ish, Ashford, just on the outskirts of Ashford, by the way, literally like 5 minutes, 10 minutes away in the car, and between Ashford and Maidstone for those who aren't, but it is properly in what we would refer to as the heart of Kent, so it's proper central Kent, and would have actually been quite an important little hamlet village because of where it was located as well. Yeah. So we have to put that in context of obviously where these stories are. And the one thing that you're going to highlight, I'm sure, Sue, is the fact that one of the biggest probably misconceptions when we're sort of deep diving into this is the timing of when these stories started.
Yes.
Because I think some people associate the ghosts obviously being older than actually when the stories started or manifested themselves.
Yeah.
And that's probably a thing that we're going to obviously cover in a minute. And I think that once we've painted that wonderful little picture, now we can sort of look at probably where that starts. So,
well, it's publicised quite often that there are 12 ghosts in Pluckley, and they are labelled, and some of them are not true. Most of these stories have come around about the time of the First World War, when the remount service moved in, and it's quite possible that it was the locals that brought these up in order to keep the soldiers away from the woods, where we assume that there was smuggling going on. We've been through the 12 ghosts that everybody talks about. Some of them we can say are completely wrong. For instance, the school teacher that was found hung. Do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. The school teacher that was hung and found by a 13-year-old school child. Well, in looking back on that particular person's history, he actually moved away from the village and then came back and was taken into West Kent Hospital, where he died. However, there was, attached to that, there was a friend of his that was also a teacher that was apparently so upset that this man had done this that he also hung himself in the same place. And that man was actually drowned in a small pond somewhere else. So there we're left with that story that doesn't seem to ring true. However, there were 2 thieves that were acquainted in the woods somewhere. One of them was found hung in a barn, or from a fence near a barn, and he was found by his 13-year-old son. So that story has come from some elements of truth and been associated with something else.
Yeah.
And we're finding that quite a lot. There's a lot. I mean, it seems to me that there's always a monk. There's always a lady in white. The lady in white here is supposed to be Lady Daring, that's been buried in more than 1 coffin, possibly 3 or more. She has been noted in historic papers as walking the first floor of Surrendon House, as well as the graveyard. But nobody's ever seen her walking in the first floor since the house was burned down. So that for me is like, surely we would have seen that. Then we've got, we go through them. There are many deaths. I can tell you of many other options for ghosts that are never spoken about.
Yeah, because there's 2 questions I want to ask you all as a team, really. Is that through your research and through the effort that you put into this in terms of properly deep diving into this, obviously what we're doing, as a team, were there any stories that out of the 12 that you've done that you can all conclusively say were definite pinned on potential paranormal, potential supernatural, potential unexplained? Let's just put all those brackets out there. Was there any as a whole team you'd look at and go, actually, kind of would agree that out of all of those, that's probably the most nailed on one, let's just sort of say?
You can ask the others, but I can only tell you that that I can't qualify whether or not there was a ghost.
Out of any of them?
Well,
do you feel?
If I can't qualify, I mean, I've qualified a lot of them that are not ghosts.
Yeah.
That was the research. That's what that brought up. But there's a lot there that I can't tell you whether they were ghosts or not, or are ghosts or not, or spirits.
Yeah.
I don't know how the others feel. What do you feel?
I think the teacher that had the stroke and fell into the pool, I'll agree with that and I believe that. Okay. There's also the one you brought up when we was going to that church that time about the German couple.
Yes, there's a German couple.
There's a good thing about this.
Yep.
And I believe that is true as well, and I believe the outcome was true.
It is.
From memory, on the church, was there red orbs?
There's a lady in red.
There's a lady in red, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Who's apparently looking for her unborn child, as Joe noted that if she's looking for an unborn child, presumably she's also dead.
Yeah.
Because where would an unborn child Be buried.
Because unfortunately, yeah, because you see, unless they're sort of stillborns that are on, or they've had them, because normally in a church you'd have them.
Yeah.
Obviously, they'd bury a little pit next to the church, and then they'd kind of just secrete it in there if they could, you know, because it wasn't obviously it was frowned upon in religious nature, but they still wanted it on consecrated ground, so they'd sort of sneakily sometimes just dig a, you know, grave, and it would normally be, forgive me, because obviously my knowledge of it, but I always remember them normally trying to bury them as close to the church wall as possible, so that it would be almost not that obvious that it would sort of be that way. But I mean, is there anything? I mean, there's so many we could talk about, isn't there?
There are so many. There's a young lad that was travelling past. He was following on a cart that had hot poles on it. The cart stopped or did something that caused the child to carry on running with the inertia of it, I suppose, and then ended up underneath the cart and died.
Yeah.
And that's never spoken about.
No.
And then you've got this couple that was the murder-suicide, which is Louise and Edith Burnt. That actually is very suspicious. His brother came over from Germany, visited the property, apparently couldn't get in. Then they were found dead, and he disappeared, and he was being sought after and disappeared. And funny enough, the money that they had went to his wife. But that's another story. I mean, that's a more interesting story.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things that we have to debunk straight away, and this is because actually on a personal level, and I do apologise to any fellow YouTubers who've done this, but we're talking about Screaming Woods.
Yes.
Which wasn't called Screaming Woods. It was actually part of the estate.
The
Daring Woods.
Yeah.
I used to call it Daring Woods, but Daring Woods.
Yeah.
So that was actually a rebranding of that, which sort of added to the folklore of people from Pluckley, and we spoke. Go on, go for it.
Is it the people from Pluckley?
Well, this is it,
We're
isn't
questioning that, you know.
Yeah.
There's such a hype about a place, and it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's not truthful anymore.
I mean, I can safely say that there are people from Pluckley Village who hate.
Yeah.
Hate's a strong word, but they do hate the idea that it is actually resentment. Yeah.
They resent.
Yeah, they do resent it.
resentment.
Yeah. And I don't blame them, because it is a small village, and you can imagine. I've witnessed it before. You go the pub. I don't think, as a recording is now, the main pub, which Black Horse, which is in the centre of the village, isn't there. Well, it's still there, but it's still open now.
It's been reopened.
Oh, there we go. I was going to say, because last time I went there, it was closed. And I remember going in there a few times into that pub, and it was a proper the locals were on one side, which normally used to be on the main side of the road, and then the general public used to come around the back way, which where all the food was. Yeah. And I remember one time, me and my friend Sam, we walked in there, and it was proper like, oh, okay. Even though we're from Kent, and we're literally not even that far down the road, they blatantly looked at us like, you're here to hunt ghosts, aren't you? And we're like, no, we're not actually. We're just here for a drink. Like, but it was like that proper like. Oh, okay. Like, they clearly have got a thing that they want to talk about with this. So
isn't there a tour that goes on? You said
yes, there is a tour. There is some guy
ends up at the pub.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there's lots of people that follow that. And we were.
Sorry, Sue. I mean, but that's where your stories expand from.
Yes.
Because they're taking them around and they're saying this
Chinese
and
whispers.
that.
And
Exactly. And then the story gets bigger.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot
and
of
more
it's
incorrect.
rubbish.
And he was actually telling people that on one of the areas behind the graves in the graveyard was where they would bury the babies that were belonging to various staff and the owners of the house. And I don't think there's anything there that gives proof to that. Yeah. It's just, well, how do you know? Because I can't find anything in records that goes to that.
I think let's talk about, in my opinion, the most well-known ghost story of Pluckley, which is the watercress woman. In my opinion.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. I like the way you laughed at that, because I think that I wonder sometimes when people research into Pluckley what they would define as the most well-known one. For me, that hands down is the most important one.
Yeah, it kind of typifies
enough
what we're saying.
that I actually remember again, because we're all not local, I remember actually driving down the dark night and actually seeing a couple of people in that actual area, and they scared the absolute crap out of me.
Yes.
Because I was like, oh, and we were like blatantly doing some ghost hunting at about 11 o'clock at night. I was coming back from a gig, and I thought, well, just go around the haunted way, you know, like you do when you drive, like you do, and then almost ran into them because they're right on the edge of this. So people of Pluckley and people who are doing the research, please understand that we think, in our opinion, probably the watercress. Well, we're local, so we can say that.
She's
we're
not a witch.
local, but she's not a witch.
She's not a witch, and she is presented in some places.
So let's put first off the story of the watercress woman from a paranormal perspective. So the story goes that in a distinct little corner, or the sort of junction between two, one's quite an insignificant road if you think about it, and then there's one of the main roads, that's coming out almost round to Betherston from memory. The story goes, you put it into context so we can sort of like have a look at it, but really
there's a small bridge. It's not even a very big bridge, and it's only a few feet long, and it covers a stream where watercress grows. And the story for the paranormal is that the witch of this particular bridge was picking watercress to sell, and that she had been drinking, and that she had a pipe, and she lit the pipe and had a smoke and put it in her pocket, and the pipe caught her clothes alight, and she burned to death. And so now, of course, they believe that they see this witch walking around over this bridge. She is called the watercress lady, the woman, the witch of the watercress, or whatever it is that they come up with. Anyway, so the research, when you dig into it, is that it did happen. This lady did come along. Her name is Sarah Sharp. She came all the way from Sittingbourne, and walked there to go and collect this watercress. She was probably something like my age at the time. She had a number of kids. She got married at my age as well. She did have a pipe. She did begin to burn. Somebody actually saw it happen and didn't raise any alarm.
That's the tragedy.
Oh, right, okay.
They didn't raise any alarm, and she did burn to death. It was in 1911/12.
That date again.
That date again. The date when all these stories arrived. And when I researched, I found her third cousin and spoke to him about the event, and he said yes, he remembered playing on that bridge as well. He remembered the cousin, and also he remembered that the locals would pump these stories out to the newbies in the locality. So for me, it typifies the fact that you get a story and then it is embellished into something that it isn't, and it's added to the pile of these ghosts.
The lore.
That it becomes new folklore, and it's not true. And it's just really, it's a real shame that there could be some, and I believe there are some proper paranormal events that are going on that nobody is really respecting, because there's all this other hype going on. Do you want to talk about this?
What was the bridge over?
A small stream.
I'm not being flippant, but if she wouldn't have just ignited as if she was covered in petrol, it would have been a slow ignition, right? Once she noticed, why didn't she jump in the stream?
She was drunk.
That drunk?
She probably fell asleep, I would say. I think she
That's
probably
fair,
she was drinking, and she'd walked a long way, and I would say that she's probably sat down, fallen asleep, put a pipe in her pocket, and has burned down that way. Other than that, I haven't got any other evidence that somebody would have set light to her. But why she didn't? There is one report said that she drowned in the stream and that she didn't burn at all. But there are significant reports to say that actually, like the inquest, that she did in fact burn.
I just wonder if again it's something that's fairly, with respect to her, but fairly insignificant event that's suddenly been hyped up.
Oh, it has.
It suits a purpose.
Yes, it does suit a purpose. Yeah, I mean, 1912, they're pumping out all these stories, perhaps to the remount service to keep them away from various places in the village, and they're saying, oh, you don't want to go down there because...
I think personally, this is why this whole story always fascinates me about Pluckley, is because I'm probably one of the last generations with respect to Sophie as well, who probably can remember when pubs were pubs.
Yes.
And you could go in there. It's hard for people who are probably younger than, probably born in the 90s onwards, really, to do a degree, late 90s, with respect, who won't remember pubs as being like one man and his dog, proper village pubs.
Yeah.
If you weren't local, you would get kicked out, etc., etc., and all this
territorial.
Yeah, proper boozer, and within that, because I grew up in a pub like next to a farm, so I was proper rural, was that I remember being bunged away with the other kids, all respect my parents, by the way, because that's just how it was. You'd be bunged in with the rest of the kids in the corner of the pub, and you'd be there with the dogs. You'd be petting the dogs, playing like that, picking up the darts as they were sort of like being chucked from the people who were getting drunk from all that stuff. I've got very vivid memories of it. Fog of smoke, trying to paint a picture of people who aren't here. Sticky floors, everything else, and all that sort of stuff, and and it was, we'd all be there as kids, sort of things, and obviously your parents or whoever would be there, and everybody'd know you, love you, and all that stuff. Sneakily put in a bit of like beer, come over here, Dan, like this sort of thing, have a quick swig of this. Whoa, sleep really well that night. But the point is that they'd also the crucial part to this, which obviously fascinates me, is the amazing part is that they would tell stories. And as kids, we would be fascinated by this. Speak to such and such in the corner, and he'll tell you a story. It's normally the older gentleman who'd be like, "Come down here, son. Like, sit next to me, and we'll tell you a story of such and such or whatever." And you were just enthralled by it, and especially like it was an older generation, even. They were so animated and so visceral. If you could get past the smell of their beer breath, but they were partially intoxicated at the same time, but it would just travel and transport, and then you'd get some old bar lady at the tables go, that's not how it went, and then all of a sudden the whole conversation, exactly. You're still there with like the gaggle of dogs and all the other kids that were sort of there, and we'd just be like enthralled by it, and then like we'd go to school the next day. Because obviously this is also a generation that we go to the boozer on a weekday, go into primary school the next day. Again, no disrespect to my parents, because that was just how it was. We were all like it, and growing up in a village as well, especially in Kent, when Kent was, properly a rural Kent community, it was just that way inclined. So the reason why I bring that all to sort of like conclusion with that is that it's not uncommon that you'd get these pub stories, this community. And again, for people who don't understand, if you're with a certain generation, pubs were the focal hub of community. And they'd been like it since pubs had began, really. Yeah. So all these stories that we talk about would have emanated from that. They would have, So for example, the Water Crusade, you can imagine them going to the boozer and going, oh God, such and such. Never guess what happened. Oh, really? And then they'd be like, oh, funny enough, that's such and such. And and then like you'd get the classic case, which is, oh, yeah, do you remember such and such who passed away? Yeah, well, funny enough. You know what I mean? Classic. I thought I saw it the other day, you know what I mean, or whatever. And the other thing we have to put in context with Pluckley, again, is it is still actually one of the very rural, still even now. Yeah. And I think it's hard to sort of picture, unless you're sort of there, that you drive down from Charing, which is what I'd normally do, or sort of the other end of probably Smarden, I think it would be, sort of going through that way anyway, or Loose, that sort of way, that it is still such a rural place to sort of go to, and you drive down and you're just like, oh wow, this is such an incredible sort of atmosphere, regardless of whether it is haunted or not. And I think that once you layer that, it's a cocktail for the perfect place for stories to be told.
Absolutely.
And
you've got the isolation that these people in the villages that don't want all of this, they kind of keep themselves to themselves. And so there is a divide between those people that you can approach to discover whether or not it's real, and those that will continue the stories. And also you had the pubs, which were the real life nitty gritty, and then you had the church, which was those more pure of mind and was the police force at the time. So you had this juxtaposition of these two things.
And from memory, because I remember actually I was going to explore it before. I think it's not there anymore, the Brickworks, which is right almost next to the railway. Yeah, exactly. And it's near Daring Arms. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I know I know that area quite well, because I used to have a friend actually just down the road from there. And so it's all in that central hub. And then actually, to put it in context for everybody, you have to walk up the hill.
Yeah.
It's not that big hill, but it's big enough for most people. And it's quite a long stretch before you actually reach the high street. And by the way, the high street is not a high street.
No.
It's like, well, now it's consistent of like, I don't even know if it's still there, probably butchers and newsagents. And then there might have been and then there was a school, wasn't there?
Yeah,
I think
it's
still there.
And the
There you
church.
go. Yeah.
And the gate to Surrey.
Yeah, church is, and that's it. I mean, that is literally it,
Yeah,
everybody.
it is.
Like, you know, it's rural as rural can be.
Yeah.
To claim it's a village is almost pushing it. I mean, it's pretty much a hamlet in my view, because it's so scattered. But once you place all that in there, it's not
and
surprising.
the stories, they just get embellished into something else. There is a story of a colonel that was hung in the field.
Yeah.
Well, not found anything to do with that, but I did find that there was a lieutenant or sergeant that was in the remount service that had come off the train on a horse, and the horse had become unstable, and he fell off and cracked his head, and he was dead.
Yeah, there was a sergeant.
And there was a massive funeral for that.
Because I think one of the most important things, and I don't want to speak for anybody else, so please feel free to correct me on this. Not everybody who passes away is going to come back in a paranormal sense.
No,
Obviously, I'm talking to experts here.
Yeah.
But that's my belief. It's not every single person who passes away, like these people who have died in Pluckley, doesn't mean that every single one's going to come back and then go, oh, surprise. Do you know what I mean, sort of thing.
And for us as well, excuse me for interrupting.
That's all right, go for it.
But for us as well, there are people that are going there that are evoking spirits.
Yes.
And we've got this witches that have been there trying to help a murderer, hunt the murderer. And we don't know that they're not putting in more energy and more spiritual
Well, that's
activity.
that's a really good point, actually, saying that we also need to remember is that because it is such a famous place now, that actually the more people who go there and do this might actually do spiritually more damage than actual
A hell of a lot of damage, actually.
yeah. I was going to say, sorry, from your expertise, guys, I mean, like, I can imagine that actually for a place that probably was just rumour and folklore, when you start getting in more people who are doing like Ouija or anything like that, as we've all spoken about before on these episodes, is that unfortunately that can, in the wrong hands, do more damage than good.
Yeah.
And so from a once quaint rural folklore type of place where people were talking about things, they might actually genuinely be seeing things that might not even be associated. Do you know what I mean? Or anything like that. I'm sure you know.
For us as a group, we will go in and investigate, and tell me if I'm wrong on this one, peeps. We'll go in and investigate and pick up as much information that we can, and then we do the research to just tease out what has been said.
We do it reverse, which is the best way of doing it.
Yeah.
I just think that it is a sad story, Pluckley.
It's really
I don't
sad.
really.
It's terribly
I
sad.
think it's. I think.
Commercialised.
Yes, I just think it's actually it's a sad story, and I really hope this video gets out to a few people who are interested in Pluckley and the lore and everything else, because I appreciate when people want to do investigations there, and you see a lot of YouTubers, especially younger YouTubers, will go to Screaming Woods or whatever, and I'm just my eyes roll, like just go, like, you know what I mean, and I get it. And also if you're not local and if you're not of a certain generation, you could sort of like pass it off a little bit. We're not saying in this episode, by the way, that there's definitely, obviously, like with any place, there are going to be genuine spirits.
Yeah.
But the exaggeration of this place to the detriment is actually quite sad, because fundamentally, as we've always spoken about, some of these people, like the Watercress lady, did pass away under tragic circumstances. And actually, if you look at it, to glorify however you want to use that terminology, it's sad, because we're sort of looking at real people here that I'm sure if she was alive now, she'd be like, no offence. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really want to, you know what I mean?
They're real stories and not being told.
Yeah. And I think this is why we have to look at it and just sort of shine a light, use a pun, on a certain way to sort of show a different perspective on it.
Yeah. And the harm that it's being done.
No, I'm going to say, like with the German couple, they would be there, but it would be like on the anniversary of it. It wouldn't be every day of the week.
This is something that we find, that the anniversaries. What do you think?
Very important.
I agree. It's like people are going there and they're leaving spiritual graffiti, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that terminology.
That's a good way
It's a really
of
good way of
talking
saying
about
it.
it.
Album, actually, but
If you had a melon,
debris and rubbish and litter and all spiritually speaking, and probably actually as well, but they're contaminating the place.
Yeah.
And driving away.
And it's belittling it as well.
They're leaving negative energy. They're antagonising living and past residents. There's all kinds of reasons why this is just...
Yet the story of Pluckley is so very interesting because it goes back right to the Magna Carta, and each of the barons has a story to be told.
Yeah,
the man that actually shot and killed the Baron Dering that we described went to the Old Bailey, and one of his fines was to lose his property, and it was a huge place in Kent, and there's a whole story behind that.
Yeah,
and it's just a really missed opportunity for a classic series, basically.
No, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I think it's important. I mean, I've done it on my channel anyway, Pluckley. Like, it's important to address the ghosts, but like, especially with my channel, obviously, the way I always look at it is I put the stories out there. It's up to people who watch it to decide whether it's real or not. Yeah. I'm just telling it from a folklore perspective, which obviously is why we're all connected, because I find that interesting, but also because I love the paranormal, all of us. But I do think fundamentally, bringing it round, I do think it's just such a sad story of a village that unfortunately got more than it asked for, and now look at the state of it.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if you want to tap into that, if you're local to the village and you want to sort of just really take advantage of the fact of, you know what I mean? Because we've seen it in certain places, York. But I love York, by the way. I really genuinely do love York. I'm sounding like a hypocrite because I've got one of the York ghosts. I've got two of the York ghosts. So I sound like, but the point is, you embellish, and then it becomes the extreme of that is then you become like a ghost town and you start selling merchandise, which I'm guilty of buying. So there we go. But the point is that you either are, you either aren't, aren't you? Really? And I think is there anything else we wanted to discuss with this?
I'd like to say
Go
something.
for it, Dan.
So, supposing these ghosts are there.
Yeah.
Imagine how frustrated they are that their stories are wrong. Nobody's telling those real stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine how frustrating that must be.
You're 100% right. I mean, that's the thing that I just think to myself. You know, if we let's just put it on a practical level. If we had the opportunity to come back and somebody was saying crap about me, I'd be like, hang on a minute. That's how it went.
Maybe that's why they send us.
Yeah.
And maybe if their stories were told, they'd be at peace and they'd clear off.
Yeah, that's true as well. And there is another thing that I'd like to say, and that is that if Pluckley really wanted this to go on, there would be a gift shop.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah, you're so right.
You know, there would be a gift shop. There would be...
But it isn't the people at the village, is it?
No.
It's the council and
everybody
everything like that all want the money coming in. It's all about money at the end of the day.
How are the council getting the money though? Because there's only the tour and the pub that's receiving any of that money.
Well, the pub gets their money from the people eating in the pub.
Yeah.
And then the council or parish council, wherever it is, get the money from the tour.
Well, I don't know anything about that. I just know that there are a lot of stories that are incorrect, and this is...
Well, yeah. So let's just as a proof to this, we'll obviously put this up on the screen as we're talking about this. But there's a wonderful article that fooled me, which I'm not going to be. It's not that easy to be fair for me. I'm pretty dense sometimes, especially in the mornings. But the point is that wonderfully showed a article which, for all intents and purposes, looked very real and convincing. But when you started looking through the details of it, it said 20 dead bodies found in the woods, and it said we'll just briefly, but it just says massacre in Daring Woods. 5 families killed. The cause of the death is unknown. And it goes on to tell about this. Basically, there's a massacre that is associated with a Pluckley. But when you start looking through the details of it, you start to see that it's established in 1897, published on the 2nd, 1948. But as we look around, it's the price of 1p. And then, more importantly, the biggest giveaway, is that there's a Facebook link at the bottom. So I don't think all of us can roll our eyes at that and sort of say we don't have to be, clued up on that to not feature that. But also the picture was rightly. Do you want to explain the picture?
The picture is something that I found that came from, I think, Serbia, where there was a massacre, and these poor people were actually murdered.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just so sad that. That's a horrific picture.
But because we spoke about this on camera. I mean, it's very convincing when you look at it because the way it's been distorted, the image looks like it could actually date from the period. I mean, I'm not, I said, it just looks very convincing. But it's this is the unfortunate nature of it, and I think that, as we know these days, a lot of stuff is for clickbait and clicks and stuff. And I think really our job and the reason why we do these case files episodes is just we're not debunking in a way to put it out as a negative. We're just trying to sort of say to people, you're either gonna ignore what we say and just still believe that you've seen whatever and you've dealt with whatever and you might have seen the Watercress Lady, etc., and that's totally fine. We're not here to tell you.
You may well have done.
You may well have done. We're not here to tell you not. But all we're doing is what obviously Phoenix History did from the get-go, and obviously working with this wonderful team. We're just here to put the facts out, and these are facts. Like, fundamentally, we can't see any evidence or through the research to conclusively say that of the actual ghosts that are documented, there isn't anything.
Well, and the research covers inquests, and it covers birth certificates, and it covers wills and all sorts of legal documentation, which is hard to deny, really.
Is there anything else that we'd like to chat about with this at all? Go for it.
Anything?
Do we know why Screaming Woods is called Screaming Woods at all?
Well, I think it's probably because it's got a lot of foxes in it.
Yeah, I was literally, that's always been my thing. It's just like, it's people who aren't used to the countryside.
Yes.
Or maybe they are and they've got canny to it and they know that that's what that is. But I think it's
because we all know that mating foxes can sound like
dead babies.
Banshees.
Yeah, good.
I love my foxes, but my word.
They are scary. They are scary. And it may be that there are things in the woods that we have yet to find and not explain. But what we're trying to do is to eliminate all of this rubbish that's been put out and embellished on, and come down to the actual truth of anomalies and respect them.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to wrap up. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time and your insight into all of it. It really means a lot, actually. And also, hopefully, like we said, we're coming from a place, just to clarify, everybody, that this is just a research-based. And also, like I said, for people who have experienced, that's absolutely fine.
I'll just say one more thing, if I may. As a group, we have not been to Pluckley to investigate. We're not contradictory in what we're saying. We haven't been there and participated in stuff. We've been there as individuals, maybe. I personally haven't, but a couple of us have been there.
Oh, sorry, I'm going there shortly with Alec.
Yeah. But you're not investigating, are you? You're just visiting to
just visiting and absorb,
and trying to ratify what we're discussing here today. What I'm trying to get across is we're not part of the masses that are there and contributed to its
well, if anything, mate, you've said exactly the right thing, is that for people who are genuinely interested in paranormal research and unexplained research, do your research first before you go to the place. And then make up your mind. Yeah, one of you. And then make up your mind whether you want to investigate it properly or not. And as I've always said, especially for me, from my own personal, is that I will gravitate to people more who actually take this type of subject more seriously, rather than just looking at a few YouTube videos and then making up their own mind.
Yes.
Because I think that that's really what we've got to eliminate. And then if you never go to Pluckley, to be unfair, with all due respect to Pluckley in itself, you're not missing out on much. And I think people will probably agree with that. There's nothing there. It's very beautiful. Yeah. If you want to go for a walk and if you want to have a drink in the pub, that's all you're really going to be getting. But apart from that, I think that fundamentally what we need to sort of address is absolutely right, is that if you're interested in the paranormal, if you're interested in doing the unexplained, do your research first, then make up your own mind before you go there, because that's really what it should be about, really.
And if you do go, as with anywhere, you respect.
100%, mate, 100%.
And that's what we're trying to do as well, because these poor people that are living in this are coming up with, people are going there saying, well, I saw this in this newspaper, or I saw this, there's 12 ghosts here, and where are they? And there is a map of them, and you just think, well, okay, well, good luck.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us and for really, hopefully, giving a bit more clarity to Pluckley and its stories. Feel free to contact the Paranormal Inspectors in the links below. And obviously, if you've got any other extra questions, you can either write a comment down in the video itself, or you can contact them directly. I reckon you're probably better off contacting them directly. You'll probably get more of a fluid answer and a wonderful
and also you can have us come along if you want.
Absolutely. It's great advertisement. We couldn't recommend them more highly. Take care, everybody. Much love to all of you out there. Feel free to spread the word of the channel, and thank you so much, everybody. Take care, and we will see you again at some other time. See you later, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.